Hi, welcome everyone. Those who made it here in person, thank you. I know it's hard right now, post COVID, but also we have a big campus. And those who are, I think we have some people in the waiting room. You will keep letting them in, Sarah?
I will.
And thank you for those who are joining us by Zoom. I am really excited about our speaker today. So let me first start off by introducing ourselves to Robert as well. And then obviously he knows us very well, and then introducing him. So we are very proud to be Department of Internal Medicine, 817 faculty, 107 PhDs is the last number, a few of them here. 592 strong research staff, right? And 218 PIs and $200 million in funding. And obviously, this is all happening because of the amazing work being done by our investigators, their research teams, but also this umbrella which is around us of this research, administrative and compliance department, which is what catalyzes this research and operational help which we get. And to head that all at the university level, we have this big job, which Dr. Robert Nobles does as the Vice President for Research for Emory University. And he is our keynote speaker today in this series, which we are starting as a part of our Ease of Research initiative. And this will be a series of town halls like this, in which we will have key leaders from these departments, which actually Dr. Nobles oversees. So we really, really thank him for making it out here to be with us and to give us his vision and what they do for us, and answer some of your questions which you might have. But before I do that, I want to introduce Dr. Nobles a bit, because I learned a lot about him. I knew him as the Vice President of Research, and I saw his name. But then I learned that he could talk in every lingo possible, which we work on. He's got a bachelor's degree in molecular biology from Florida A&M, which means he can talk to me about my basic science research pathways. And he then got a master's in public health, specializing in epidemiology for all of those health services researchers out there. And then he got a doctorate in public health at University of Texas Health Science Center in Houston with a triple major in health policy and management, epidemiology, and health economics. Robert's been an avid educator. He can teach anywhere from anatomy and physiology. We were talking about these buildings called anatomy and physiology, to public administration, health policy, and finances. And before he came to Emory, and Dr. Nobles, which year did you start at Emory?
2019 at the end.
2019.
So Thanksgiving 2019.
Yes, so before he came to us as a Thanksgiving present in 2019, he was the Vice Chancellor, interim Vice Chancellor, and before that, the Associate Vice Chancellor at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. There's a lot more which I can speak about, but I really want to give this time to our speaker. So thank you so much, Dr. Nobles, for joining us, and we look forward to hearing from you about the research operation and then your interaction with our investigators here at their teams. Thank you. Just share this.
So I didn't know that she was going to do the introduction thing. Because maybe I don't remember what it was like pre-COVID and having people present, but it's pretty amazing that this is the first time I've been on this wing of this building. And since I've come to Emory, School of Medicine has been my #1 collaborating school, which is really interesting. It makes the other schools a little jealous because they're like, why you spend so much time over there? And I share with them that a School of Medicine makes up 80% of the research productivity of the university. To be honest with you, your department could be its own university. There's institutions that don't have the number of faculty that you have, the number of research staff that you have, and producing more than $200 million. You would be an R1 institution just by your department. And so I work with John Sowers. I worked with, well, when I first arrived, I worked a lot with Bob Taylor. And I helped with the recruitment of Lindsay to the unit and done a number of things to provide an infrastructure. But there's always been, and this is the first time I'm really addressing you all, there's always been a strong collaboration. And maybe there were artificial barriers of you being in touch, of us overcoming some of the obstacles that you experience in your regular activities, in addition to saving lives that you do on a regular basis. And so I'm going to provide you just a basic overview of some of the things that I'm thinking about that I've been doing on your behalf. At any point online, you can raise your hand or interrupt. I'm an infectious disease epidemiologist and extrovert, so it's really easy for me to stop and engage with you all. But let's go through some basic information to see if we're all on the same page. Okay. Coming to Emory. Emory has done a number of things really, really well. There's an extreme focus on the productivity, the capture, the gain, the work through identifying research projects, securing funding, implementing those projects, and supporting our faculty. What Emory does not do well, and has not done well, is really bridging the dots of how research is done out of one department across the university, and how central administration supports our departments in carrying out that activity. That we don't historically have not done well with that. And so a lot of the work that I've been doing really was to build community and build an infrastructure across to where you have points of contact as necessary. And so really, there's always been these three kind of pillar points that I focused on: building our infrastructure, streamlining our processes, and building up the teams. It's really been those three things. And let me walk you through some of the things that we've been doing. Dismantling and modernizing our IT infrastructure. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that. But Emory has been, and still is in a lot of instances, quite archaic in the way that we have our IT systems developed, interconnected or not. There's a bunch of bolt-on systems that don't talk to each other. The work of doing research administration at Emory is very, very hard. It's easier at a number of institutions. And part of that is because we've grown so big. Part of it is because we have really prolific individuals and departments that buy what they need, they put it together for their own faculty. And it's not connected with the rest of the school or the rest of the schools. And therefore, finding information is really, really difficult. Producing information and make sure we have consistent information has been difficult. We're fixing that, which takes time. Making sure, and y'all have experienced this, and making sure that the individuals that we have within the RAS group are supported holistically. There was so much turnover through the pandemic and after the pandemic, and we've stabilized now, but I was on frequent calls with the Dean's Office of School of Medicine related to stabilizing each of our units, including yours, with the staff and the work that the staff performed. And it was quite laborious. They still struggle, to be honest with you. And historically, Emory has invested in people and not in fixes of processes, and not in the fix of our infrastructure to make the work easier. So our solution to archaic activities is to put more people to do the archaic activities. So if you can have a pictograph of what that looks like, we have a nice veneer of, let's say, a Tesla Model S. You have a nice veneer of a Tesla. When you get in the car, it's like the Flintstones. Like, I'm being honest with you. Like, just imagine that just for a sec. On the outside, it looked like we are rocking, we've hit $1 billion, we keep growing. And then you open up and then there's a bunch of people spinning their wheels and moving their feet to make the Tesla go. That's been our infrastructure, and I've been talking about it for many years. And I mean, y'all have experienced what I've experienced. There's been a lot of changeover of leadership at our institution, and I've been here 5 years. In that time, new president, 2 new executive vice presidents, and over the last 2 years, year and a half, 8 of the 9 deans of each of our schools are new. Like we've had a complete reincarnation of leadership and starting all the way over at helping people understand what the priorities are and what levels of support our faculty need, what y'all are engaged in and what we need so that we can make it easier for you. So we start over, it's like Groundhog Day. We have these conversations, they understand, they hear from you, they invest or divest. And then they have to reinvest because they're like, if we take money away from here, things are going to break and you're going to hear about it, and they don't typically like. They typically want things fixed, but then we have to invest in the ambitions that we want as an institution. And so those are things related to alignment that we're working on with upper leadership. But there are some areas for which that are struggles, and those are the 2 things that I'm going to primarily talk about in the second half of this talk, is modernizing our infrastructure so that things are transparent to you in terms of the tools that we use to see things, where your grants and contracts are located in the process, and getting financials out of the system. We're going to talk about that because there's a lot of activity going on in that space finally. And our IT systems, and then the work that we're doing in post-award administration. The other things, and I saw the list of questions that you have. I want to leave an open opportunity for you to ask questions, because our faculty and you all are at different levels of engaging with our research enterprise. Some of you are saying, how do we find new opportunities? I can tell you about that. It typically has not been what people have asked us for, but we have a whole process for it. I'm going to answer that question. Other individuals is like, how can we make sure our international projects that we're doing clinical trials across the world, how those contracts can get done in a much more efficient fashion? Well, there's a whole process to that, because just like many of our systems were grown out of departments and out of schools, the rest of the university is not and has not been as interconnected with all the initiatives that we have going on in research to support you. It's a maze. And I come on in. I demystify the maze. I bring my partners across the entire university together, but it has not been on their priority list that what our researchers need is what they're going to do first and foremost. It just hasn't, until I call them, and then we all do it. We take care of you. And what I've been working on, just so that we're on the same page, is trying to make sure that the independent ad hoc activities I do to fix one person's set of activities becomes much more systematic, because we know if one individual shared it, many individuals are having the same experience, and we should fix the system and the processes that go with that. And that takes some time, because we are, as an institution, really large. We're producing a lot. There's 4,000 proposals that go out the door, $2 billion of requests annually. We receive $1 billion of new awards annually for the past couple of years. There's a lot of activity that we're moving through the ranks, and people are just feverishly trying to keep up. And oftentimes there's not a heck of a lot of new investments that go into the individuals who are doing all this back end work. And those are things that we've been paying a lot of attention to. I've worked with School of Medicine. They've made more investments after we produced some information. Your department as well. And we have really good partners and advocates. And so building that infrastructure that y'all need is important, making sure that we focus on continuous quality improvement. We've done a number of things. Hopefully you started feeling some of the positive advances that we've made. But I think in the next year or two, you're really going to feel it, because we finally have gotten to the place of really doing some fairly significant overhauls of the systems and the processes that we're implementing across the university and bringing the university together. And it has taken some real time, but it's happening. And if you leave with nothing else, we're really in a good place, and we're going to be better than where we are last year and the year before, in the coming weeks, months, and years, because we finally have the alignment that was necessary to have the movement that we do. And so there's tons to go with that, but it really comes on the focus of what you see on the far left-hand side, making sure that we have collaboration and make sure there's a process flow of hearing from you. You should never be discouraged from reaching out, that we are building transparency for you, and that there's open communication. And this is what I do with each of the deans, broadening the level of collaboration with our vice chairs of research, and then individual faculty, they reach out if they need help, and we help them. And so it's the process works, but you have to be proactive. So we keep growing. And if you look at over the years, over the last 5-6 years, we have, as an institution, which you'll see here in the last 5, grown 20%. If you take that a couple of years prior to that, we've grown 50% in the last 7 years. Like huge swing, 50%. We were at less than 700 million 7 years ago. And since, it's not because of me, but since I arrived, because we started monitoring it then, and Deb Bruner arrived, we've had record-breaking years every year, but it's really just bringing the institution together to work better for you, to make things easier for you. So then, like, these are your successes, it's not our success. But there's a lot of activity. There's 2 things that I've focused on that I think our schools need. Making sure that your requests get out the door for funding and sponsorship, and that when you do the work, we recover the revenue for you. Like, it doesn't come to my office, but we recover it. And surprisingly, the second piece was broken. Emory, over the years, and we've been fixing this, has, let me give you a for instance, and I'll explain. When we do some research that's not with the federal government, no matter how many people perform that research with that sponsor, they send us a check. Send us one check. Say a pharmaceutical company. What we have to do as an institution with that check of all the invoices that went to them is that they have to match it to all the invoices that went to them, to the penny. And if it doesn't match, they hold the check. And nobody, not one of us, that should have been paid from that check, the money goes to the account, to the department, and to the school. It's held because they can't match it. And when it's a really odd phenomenon that we discovered, and it's not my department. And so then what we've had to do is work with the people who do accounts receivable, because that's part of our infrastructure. And when we have $1 billion of checks coming in, there's a whole lot of matching that has to occur. And to date, we have, on a regular monthly basis, about 10% of the amount. So say we're getting $1 billion, so it's $100 million a month. And then 10 million of that happens to be unreconciled and is stored at the central office, waiting to figure out where should we apply this money. I'm being honest with you. Like, this is like, you get honesty today. And so what we've been trying to do is match up our processes, because some of our invoices don't have invoice numbers. We don't know who sent them. They sometimes come from the department, sometimes they come from central offices, sometimes they come from somewhere else. The people who send the invoices don't know if the check ever arrives, so nobody ever follows up. It's a really archaic and slow way of us doing business. And I made jokes when I came that like Emory has rich people problems because at other institutions, if you did work and you asked for money and they gave it to you, you would put it in the account right away. What we have are checks that go uncashed sitting in drawers until somebody can figure it out. And like, you have to have a lot of money if that is your fallback. And we can't figure it out. We're putting it in the desk of it's too hard to figure out in this moment. And we were doing that for years. We're not doing it as much now because we have the teams working together to do the reconciliation really, really quickly, asking the questions. And then, love Emory. One of the things that they tried to do with you all is save you from the minutia of anything related to managing your projects. Because you're busy saving lives and writing proposals. But the truth is, you're kind of the only one that can demystify what actually happened. And the institution historically was worried about burdening you with those questions. So you were never asked, they never figured it out, and it just sat. And so there's a lot when we start peeling back the layers of how our institution has been working, that we've been working behind the scenes that you wouldn't even know about. It's the basics, the basics. We should have conversations with the people who are producing the work and say, hey, you know, that we sent this invoice, we haven't received it. Can you reach out to your collaborators or not? This is what we're doing in the process. We're going to communicate with you. Much of this, we keep growing, and I'm fixing things in the background, but simple things like you probably would have noticed if you got a new grant award. Before, the institution didn't want us, well, it didn't want us, and I say the institution, I'm the institution, so I'm not blaming other people. It just took me a while to figure things out. We didn't tell you when you had a notice of award. And because we didn't tell you because there was some extra work that needed to occur in multiple offices to set the award up for you. And the preference, way before I got here, was let us do the work first and we will tell the investigator they got a notice of award. And sometimes that, most of the time, 30 to 60 days it takes for the setup. So your award might have started September 1st. You might not hear about it until November 1st. And then you start hiring individuals and you're a couple months behind. And that's when things are working well. I started getting calls from individuals that got awarded like on a September 1st, and we're in the spring, and they're like, hey, where's my award? Somebody said we got funded. And then I have to work with all the teams to figure out, well, who got notified? Well, and then my team would say, well, we notified the department and or not, right? And so things like our communication flow internally was not as well as it should. So what we just recently did, and we had to work with multiple offices to change the way we do automatic notifications in the system, is when we get a notice of award, we tell you. So at least you're in the know and what you can, I mean, the basics. So you can get started, and it still gives the team time to set up everything, and we can have a provisional account or something else so that we can get started. Because research, for us to do these celebrations of research expenditure, you got to know you got funded, and you got to start hiring people to do the work. The basics is what we've been focused on. We'll get to advanced stuff later, but it's really the basics of giving you the information you need so that you can be effective at the stuff that somebody wants to fund you and allow you to continue to create, ideate, and innovate with. So I just believe in getting that to you. When we look at our infrastructure of really our division of research, and and this is somewhat complicated, but it was really the best pictograph to describe how our office engages across the university. We have, let's say roughly across the research enterprise of research administrators within the school and in the central office, about 600 individuals that perform all these activities. About 250 of them live within the school, about 350 are within the offices that I manage. We have a senior vice president of research that reports to the president and joint reports to the provost, that's Deb Bruner. And we co-manage the Office of Tech Transfer. We have a science gallery. We have Office of Research Development, and a lot of questions that you ask were about interdisciplinary collaborations. What do we do? And I don't know if Kim Eck was on the list of people you're inviting to this town hall, but we should, because you do, okay.
No, I don't think we do.
Yeah, Dr. Kim Eck, who was with me in Tennessee and I brought here, is a national leader in research development and putting pieces together on how to find funding sources and alternate funding sources that match with you. And she does some work to look at what other departments of medicine, internal medicine, infectious disease departments, where their sources of funds are, and helping you understand what your possibilities are out there, that if you're not just going to NIH. And so there's a number of things that happen. I'll share the slides. I'll share the slides. There's a number of things that happen where she can help you or anybody get started, pivot, find new funding sources, et cetera. It's a wonderful initiative that when we arrived, many of the schools said they do that by themselves and don't need our help. And I'm like, do y'all? Like, do you really? Because I keep having faculty reaching out to me, asking me the same questions, and the schools are like, oh, we got this covered. We don't need any central help. Well, every other institution in the nation uses central help to provide these opportunities, and we go to meetings. So we put it together, and it's helped a lot. It's helped our faculty who want to engage a lot. And then we have an internal group that does business and IT for us. And so when I work across the board in our 10, 12 offices, it really, I have a faculty advisory board that I now have Viva part of. But Bob Taylor was the chair when I got here. He was the chair of my faculty advisory board. And I like to tell this story since I'm in his department, and it doesn't matter if he's online or not. It doesn't matter. Love you, Bob. When I arrived my first week, I had my first faculty advisory board meeting. And if y'all know Bob, like I know Bob, then kind of sat there, he's like looking stern for what? I'm like, you should be happy I'm here, I'm gonna help. And he's like super serious. You know, like it was like the third day I was here. And we're sitting in the room, I have my faculty advisory board like this, and I'm happy to be here. Like I heard there's some issues that I need to help with. I've done it before, happy to help out. And he's like, oh, before we get all excited about your arrival, I have 3 questions for you. And if you don't answer them right, we quit. Like it's a volunteer board. So I'm like, oh, okay. Hit me with the questions. Like I've never had volunteers threaten to quit, but whatever. But clearly it meant something at Emory, so I was like, I'm like all ears. And so his first question, or his first statement that he wanted an affirmative on, is if we're going to meet with you, you have to promise to us you're going to listen. And I'm like, done. Anybody I'm in the room with, I'm going to listen to them, or I won't be in the room with you. That's just the way it works. So I'm like, that's easy. Like maybe the next 2 are harder. The second one, and he didn't believe me, but it was funny. The second one was, there's been this consultant report that your office commissioned and you haven't shared it with us. I need you to promise you're gonna share it with us. And I said, okay, I haven't read it yet. When I read it, and I don't know if my team has seen it, give me 30 days. Like it was December 3rd, I met with them. Give me 30 days right after the holiday break, I'll give it to you. And then it's funny. He said, no, you're not. And I'm like, this is Bob. And I'm like, but I just said I will. So then I like, maybe we have to see how this relationship works. But when I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. He's like, they won't let you. I'm like, I don't even know who they is, but if it's my report, I promise you, I'm gonna share it. I guess we'll see. I'm like, I guess that's how this works. We'll see. And then the third request was, he said, the previous provost had a report a couple years prior. We want a copy of that report too. And I'm like, ooh, okay. I said, it's not my report, but he's leaving. I'll get a copy of it. I'll read it. I'll share it with my team, and then I'll share it. I'll share it with the faculty advisory board. And he doubted I would deliver on that. And I did. I sent the report out after the holidays, but there was a break and we came back on the 6th. So I gave it and he's like, you're late. I'm like, I said, but you got it. Like you waited all this time while I wasn't here. 3 days, you're okay. You'll be okay. And I gave it to the faculty advisory board, and then I also shared it across campus. And it was interesting, and this is where we had to work on our relationship together, is that he said, our request was only to share with us, not everybody else. And I'm like, but if it's my report, I can do what I want. My promise to you was I would share it to you. That didn't mean I'm not going to be transparent with the rest of campus. That's how I work. And so you don't control that. It's not your report. And so he's like, oh, okay. And so we worked through that, and what those reports showed, and they're on my website now, is that there's been remarkable challenges of doing research at Emory. There's been and like they show it, and I'm like, I don't need another survey. Like it's been hard for y'all. It's been really hard. And so what I did was lay out a framework of how I was going to work with the schools and bring us all together to start making it easier. And we've done a number of things because things were falling apart when I got here right before COVID, and COVID kind of masked it because everybody was falling apart. So it kind of bought us a little bit of time. But in the midst of COVID, and I had to shift some of my focus, is that they wanted to shut down our research labs. And I was like, absolutely not. The one thing that we are at Emory, and y'all are prolific in solving infectious disease crises. This is that. This is what we do. I manage biosafety, radiation safety, all of environmental health and safety, occupational health. I said, the one thing I know we could do is use PPE to work at our institution to get the job done. So I'd have a lot of meetings, and we kept our research activity open at Emory when many of across the nation shut down. You guys did not close the research lab? No.
They just restricted, very restricted.
Yeah.
Very improvement.
They're fully closed.
No, we did not close. We did not. And in the heavy restrictions, there was a lot of fear. Y'all understand. I'm an epidemiologist. I get it. If you don't know what's going to kill you, like you're scared. It's fine. And so they tried to do spacing stuff. There's a lot of engineering controls and things that we did, but we did not shut down. We actually grew extra $100 million in the first year of COVID and research sponsorship that we received to tackle the issue. And Emory was on the forefront of solving the COVID crisis the first time, and ongoing, and we still have one now. But nevertheless, when I think about the office, and just to show this, is that we really have 5 offices that do grants and contracts administration. We have a sponsor programs for peer award. We have a research grants and contracts for post-award. We have a tech transfer that used to do industry contracts, but we moved it over. But they do material transfer agreements and data use agreements. We have an Office of Clinical Research that focuses on clinical trials for which that integrate with our electronic medical record, which is Epic. And now we use Encore as our clinical trial management system. And so we use these offices, and then we have a partnership office with each of the RAS groups working intimately with the schools to make sure that we understand the issues that are going on and we solve issues. 3 compliance offices, 3 broad compliance offices. One is environmental health and safety, and I mentioned bio-rad, chemical safety activities, our foundational safety things. But moving beyond that, make sure we don't. I always run out of time, I'm sorry. I'll go faster. Is we have the IRB office, and we have a large human research protection program. I mean, if you can imagine, of $1 billion, about half to 600 million are focused on human subjects research related activities. I have a number of studies going there. We have, and then we have a new office that I created because we needed to patch in the infrastructure to provide safety for you all, which is research compliance and regulatory affairs. The number of research rules that are going on across the board with the nation are just tremendous, and I needed an office to provide you all the cliff notes on keeping you all safe. And there's just a lot of movement there. And so we work with the schools on each of those areas. I have people that are assigned there. If you have a problem in any one of those areas, you're free to reach out, get clarity, and get some help. You're free to do it. You don't need, well, if you need permission, I just gave it to you, but you didn't need it. It's the way we work. And so we have people across the board that are intimately involved in solving those issues, and they would prefer to hear it directly instead of me getting it and then me asking about it. They just prefer that because they're consummate professionals, and they were like, why didn't they reach out to me? And I'm like, because they don't know you. But they do appreciate that. So any issue that you're having, we work with our internal research administrative services group within DOM, and that's headed by Lindsay. But reaching out is fine. And we bring people together and we solve issues. We do that every single day, especially when things get escalated. So when we look at FY24, and we just finished our academic year and financial year of 24, and we're now into 25, starting on September 1st. What I would say is that there's an extreme focus on speeding up the timeline of our clinical trial activation from the point of a confidentiality agreement to the point of finishing the negotiations on the budget and awarding in the contract out the door. That process was really slow because they were working sequentially. We have done a number of things, and working with Ravi Thadani and Don Harvey, of putting extra focus on making sure we streamline that entire process. I got calls of projects from emergency management that's been in process for more than 2 years, and they're asking, can I help them? And I'm like, why didn't you call sooner? Like, nothing should take 2 years to negotiate. Nothing should take that long. We should tell you we can do it or we can't do it, but it should not take that long. There was a number of projects that were like that, but most of them averaged half year from the start of you getting a confidentiality agreement to everything was negotiated. Half a year is a long time. Half a year is a long time. And so we're trying to truncate that down to in between 60 and 90 days. We've made a lot of, I mean, if any of you have engaged recently, we made a lot of progress in that. We're 75, like 2.5 months-ish right now. And it's getting faster and faster because we're streamlining activities holistically. Same thing with our tech transfer office. Of course, if you got licenses that need to be disclosed, please do that. But we're streamlining the administrative process to where you can self-disclose data use agreements and say, look, I am not using protected health information. I certify, and it streamlines it this fast instead of waiting on somebody to review it and act like we don't trust you. We'll trust you. And so that has cut down. That's cut down the process dramatically. And and what I've talked with the team about is that we're gonna start meeting with the Dean of School of Medicine, probably on a quarterly basis to go over the technologies for which that are being produced out of the school and give her updates so that she's more in tune with what's going on. When we look at the work that we're doing in RAS roles and responsibilities and our Dragon team, which is our optimization and training unit, we're really trying to figure out ways, because there was some challenge of the groups talking with each other and knowing where one group, one set of activities start and stop and when it should be trained. Like the baton passing was not well done. And so we've done a number of things to do that, and we function as one team, regardless of where the reporting relationship is. That it never mattered. We always shared it with the schools. But regardless of where it is today, we work as one team, open access to the databases and really build continuity. OSP has done a number of things to move faster. We had to invest in our sub-award team. We had 2 people doing all of the sub-awards for the institution as a team. And the backlog just got tremendous. And like, and people were complaining, like, where's our subs? Where's our subs? And like, we literally, like, remember the Tesla with the opening and the Flintstones? Like, people are working feverishly. And we're just not, we haven't been allocating resources in the right areas, but we started to. You'll see some things that are coming down related to new regulations and research compliance. One of them is related to if you're traveling internationally for work, there's a registry that has to be done, and you will automatically be registered in international SOS, which means that if you get in any trouble while you're working internationally, you'll come get rescued. And you want to get rescued, trust me. It's a paid service by the institution, but they were having people passively accept to be rescued if they come into a conflict zone or emergency while they're away. And so there's a number of things that we have to do, but the government is really into making sure that we have full disclosures of our outside activities. So transparency of your disclosures of your outside interest doesn't make it bad, but we have a comprehensive process that helps you facilitate your agreements across the world. Post-award administration is a big focus. Environmental health and safety, we're doing a number of things to streamline activities and keep you safe. And our IRB is rocking and rolling, which I'm very proud of. But let me just show you a couple other things, and then I'll stop and answer questions because we're at 12:44. When you engage with your research administrative services or RAS, they're really the tip of the iceberg. They are your first point of contact. They're not your only point of contact, but they're your first point of contact. Under that is an infrastructure of the offices that I just told you that really support them in answering their questions. Sometimes the people that you're reaching out to, they don't know the answer to your questions. You can escalate. We've created escalation procedures that if you're not getting the answer you need, you can reach out of that office. But typically, you have an administrator assigned to you. You have a director of that unit, which is Lindsay. You should go to them, managers and assistant directors. The director, you should ask the leadership first. If you don't get an answer because they know how to engage with us, you can reach directly out to the people that I've put in those offices that are here to help you. And you can copy Lindsay or anybody else, because I'll say some of you do that and we help you really quick. Some of you don't, and you're waiting to be helped. But there's no flare or anything that we know that you need help. So then we don't mobilize to help you. All you have to do is ask us, and answers fly. Because things get lost in the handoff still as we're modernizing and building connectivity, and it's no one's fault. It's just we have archaic systems. It's like if we all still have BlackBerries, like it's like we are on an archaic platform, and everyone's doing their best. And so I love our team members that work within the RAS. They are working hard. We're building support infrastructures. We're training them. We're building continuity amongst the teams. We're building transparency. But do know that y'all have more help if you need it and more answers if necessary. The issues that we've been trying to fix. Make sure that everybody has continuous service to our researchers. Because it used to be highly variable, now it's somewhat variable. Most of you should be receiving high quality services, especially in DOM. They were very hard for that. But what the teams are working with are difficult. Making sure that we have clear roles and responsibilities, we have that in place. You would imagine that we had standard operating procedures and a bunch of other stuff that was already documented when I got here. We did not. So we've built that to make sure, and we train people on what they should be doing. There was fragmentation. We've brought that together. There were processes that were inconsistent. We've enhanced that, making sure that there's a consistent set of knowledge, and make sure that we staff to levels to where individuals are backed up. What we were seeing was that if somebody went on FMLA, went on vacation, all their work stopped. And y'all were just on pause. And then they have to pick up where they came back. And then it's like going to the cab farmer's market and the meat aisle. You like pull the thing, you wait for your number. And then when you finally are seen, then you got to go to the other one, you pull the number. Research administration was working like that, and it wasn't really working together. You just went from line to line, and it was incredibly inefficient. So we've done a number of things to speed that up. Let me just, in the last 5 minutes, and then I'll answer questions, tell you about two very important things that I think are gonna transform the way we do it at Emory. I've had this goal of making Emory's research administration the #1 research administration across the nation, like the envy of research administrative offices. People look to us for solutions because many organizations are having the same type of issues. One of the things that we're doing is this really fully integrated research administration package. Really to put it at your fingertips. And I am going to host a town hall and show a demo of the system to all faculty that want to come on October 23rd. But it really is a system, and that your teams, if you have teams, or you have to go in and look for a financial system, and you have a intent to submit form, and it goes to a different system. You don't know who has it. This opens up the door on pre-award, post-award, effort reporting, space, IRB, IACOOK, everything is loaded into one system, and you have one dashboard and you see everything. And when we look at the systems that our teams use or that you might have access to, we're really consolidating research administration. So when you do research, you have a system that you go into, and that it will house absolutely everything. Because if you're anything like me, when people say, "Oh yeah, it's in the SharePoint site," and they send you a link, and then you get another link, and you get another, and you can't find anything. It's just I was going to say a damn mess. It's somewhat hellacious the way that we try to find information here, and our teams have to go through that same thing. And so they will have a platform, you will have a platform, you will know where things are, you'll know who to call. And we're going to consolidate and sunset 20+ systems of the institution to make this easier for everybody over the next year for some, and then 2 years for the rest, and I'll show you. So we're starting with conflict of interest disclosures, our IRB process, and all of the agreements that we do. Timeline is that we will have this first phase done by June 3rd, 2025. So this academic year. This academic year, you'll hear demos, you'll see things. And the next academic year, we'll pull in animals, export controls, our financial, because we're going to get a new financial management system for the university. PeopleSoft is going to go away. We're going to replace it. We need to tie it into this new system so everything is integrated. Biosafety will be there for reporting, tech transfer licenses, et cetera, will all be in one system. So over the next 2 years, you're going to see some remarkable changes that I've been advocating from the beginning, but we didn't have the magical system, and now we've been able to find it. We've got the budget for it. We got the team for it. We're doing full implementation for it. When you log in, just give you a snapshot, basically you'll have a dashboard, and we're changing the way that it looks, but basically you will have all of the information you need at your fingertips. If you need to see if you have current activity and your IRB related activity, it's there. When you write a grant and you want to match it to the IRB, it does it within the system for you. You don't have to keystroke a bunch of extra stuff. Your disclosures are there. Biosafety is there. Where things are pending is all there at your fingertips, one login. Much easier, works on your phone too. We're excited about that. And if you have any questions about this system and you want to know how your colleagues feel, you can ask the people at Mass Gen because they've implemented it, and we are taking the best and the brightest minds from there to implement here so that we can be effective in using the system. So if you got colleagues there, say, hey, what do you think about your system? We heard from our VP dude that said it's going to be great. Is it? You can get clarity on that from them, not me. But I am a salesman of the system. So tell me if I'm wrong. If you hear otherwise, let me know. But Rami Thadani, Alistair, the whole crew swears by it. And I love their confidence. And so I'm just soaking it up and like, we're gonna do this. And when we show it to the teams, they are very, very excited about what they're seeing in the way that it pulls information in, and the way that it's going to force the institution to modernize to make sure all that information is at your fingertips. But this is what you'll see. You'll see a protocol. You'll have where it is in initial review. This would be a type of dashboard you'll see when you go into one of those activities. All at your fingertips, not multiple systems, everything interconnected. All right. And so that's just a screenshot of an example. You know, the request that we have will be in the system. You'll get an email too, but you just go into the system, you can answer stuff. Everything is there. The admin staff can see it. Nobody has to hunt for a bunch of emails and a bunch of things that really get in the way of progress. And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about that for you. And it will bring in Epic data. It will bring in Encore data that you need. And all the administrators will have access to be able to facilitate what you need much better. That's the main thing. I want you to be excited about that. I'm excited. I don't get excited very often, except for when I skydive. But y'all should be excited about it. It's going to be really, really awesome. Okay, so what's not awesome? Really quick. We have received letters from the government because Emory and across the nation, but has been slow on closing out projects, right? And so I got 2 minutes and I'm stopping. The issue is this. You do a bunch of work on your research. Annually, we do a financial report. A lot of times Emory's late with those. It's not good. When you finish your project, they basically have to do like accounting people have to do like taxes on your project within 120 days of it closing to make sure all that needed to be on there was on there. And the government cuts off our ability to get any more money from them on your project after 120 days. Okay, basic stuff. You get 120 days to make sure the account's right. You need to certify it and we'll give you the money. So we started digging into this process and we started finding that when I got here, there was 8,000 studies that were beyond the 120-day mark that the government won't give you any more money on. And I'm like, I don't understand this. Like if people owe us money, we should close our books and get the money we need, right? Like we should do that. It seems like a basic thing. And because the teams and not coordinating with you and then working across the university couldn't find all the information down to the penny which should be on your project, a lot of them weren't closed, but we still have to close them because they serve as an audit risk. The government has wrote to us and said, look, we're trying to get you to close these projects because on our books, they're not closed and we can't pay you, but you still need to certify the money we gave you was accurate. Before we ask you to give all the money back because you haven't certified that what you used was right. So got a letter and we got another letter. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe Emory, we need to focus on postal board administration and closing out our projects. It makes a lot of sense that if we've generated revenue, we should recover the revenue and we should certify that the revenue is being recovered appropriately. So we started doing that and working feverishly. And so let me just kind of put this into perspective for you really quick because I think it's an important number. The files that we're looking at go back to 2009 when I had 8,000. Current day, we've knocked out like 6,000 of them and we have like only 2,000 left from 2009 to present. in the last 15 years. Okay, closing them out slowly but surely. Currently for Department of Medicine, y'all have 212 projects that still need to be closed. The good thing is that there's cash balance, which means there's a positive number for the 212. The ones that have a negative number, if you look on the other side, is 106. So there's close to $2 million of positive numbers, about $1 million of negative numbers that still need your confirmation that what we paid for in 2011 was right, so we can close the books on doing taxes of those projects. And we're working across the university. Why wasn't it done? I don't know. But one of the things that I've committed myself to is making sure it gets done. And once it gets done, we don't fall back and have this problem again. I've explained it to the president, I've explained it to the provost, I explained it to the deans. If there's nothing else that we do, we need to make sure our finances for Emory are right. Right? Because how else do we function as an organization at our caliber? And so it's important to know, and there's all these things that start to leak out of our pipe of why we can't find it. Were these people supposed to be on it? And we start to find that because sometimes our faculty don't certify their effort, we don't know if the people who are on their project should be paid on the project. Therefore, we can't do closeout because we don't know the names of the people that you hired to be on your project. And so now we have to close our rules related to and really enhance the things that we're doing to make sure you certify your effort at a regular basis. And we're starting to include you, because we didn't include you in the process to let you know, hey, we need confirmation of what's on this project in this period to certify so that we can actually do our annual reporting effectively and our final closeout activities effectively. Okay, I should stop.
We'll have to invite you for another hour then.
No, you got my team, but I'll love to come back if necessary.
Yes, no, I think.
All right, so questions for me in the 5 minutes we have left.
I would like to give the opportunity to people who are here in person
Okay.
if they have any questions, because we did answer a lot of questions already,
Yeah, please.
which were posed to you beforehand, because I think thank you so much. The talk really did cover a lot of that stuff already. Anybody, questions in the room?
Questions, thoughts, reactions? Yes, ma'am.
So insight, that's very exciting. At the same time, I have concerns because we migrated from one IRB platform to the current one.
We did.
And a lot of material actually got lost in the process. Like just
Yeah.
those documents. So I'm just really, I
Sure.
would,
Sure.
I would,
It didn't get
when
lost.
this is done, it needs to be done with great care.
100% agree.
You know,
So-
it wasn't lost, but there was like a buggy roundabout.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
So before I got here, we committed to buying the system from Huron.
Yeah.
Huron uses old platform, more information what you need. But it's really hard to extract information and put information in, and they nickeled and dimed us. It's like buying a Mercedes and you always take it to the shop, and every time you get an oil change, it's like over $1,000. That's what Huron is to them. They see us as a cash cow. And so the decision was made on some of that information that was buggy, not to load it because it would cost too much for the institution. Those decisions were made way before I got here.
Right.
This one's gonna be, let me overpromise. This process is gonna be done right. This process will be transparent, and you will know what information you will have and what information we're gonna archive somewhere else that we will still have access to. I will make sure that the information that we have in the system that you need will be available. And I'm working with all of the teams across the university to make sure that's done. Emory has had some really bad implementations of projects. We're not really good at it. Like I'm being honest, we are not good at it. But we have a team now that is working hand in hand with us across the entire institution, including the digital health team from healthcare and the Woodruff Health Sciences. We're all poured in together to make sure that this works collectively. Because research historically hasn't been thought of as a mandatory partner at the table when we do system implementation. They just had IT people do it, and then we lived without I know, I know. But we fixed it, like trust me, it doesn't make sense, but it's the truth. And we're at the table now and we are heavily involved and understand the critical nature of the work that we need to do. So, hold me to that, but I'll be sure to, you'll have a sandbox, you'll be able to play in it, you'll be able to.
It's a very important question. We'll make sure any of our information, whether it's the animal protocols or IRBs, is not lost. There's a lot of work. So, Dr. Samantha Yariga, who's an associate professor of pulmonary, had sent this question within the same line.
Yes.
We discussed that when we talk about closeouts. She says, will the new inside grant management system allow PIs to see spending in real time?
Yes,
Currently, it takes us an average of 4 months when a supply order is placed and when the charge hits the account.
yeah, so, okay. Yeah.
Important question.
And it's still, look, our current process is still not this. All right, our issue is somewhat system related and somewhat process related. There's a lot of spending that happens. Emory hasn't been great at recognizing what you spend and what account it should be on. And until they identify the account that whatever you spend should be on, it doesn't post to your general ledger and you don't see it as part of your research project. We're fixing that. And the teams, they don't have a tool that gives them timely projections of what you've projected out. Like finances at Emory, that's why we're getting a new financial management system over the next few years and that we're wrapping this in, it should be a lot better. And it has not been a lot better. People complain about it. What we bought was a system back in 2010. A PeopleSoft system that the institution has been scared to update. They updated it once. There was like 25 updates from 2010 to 2017. We didn't decide to take advantage of them until 2017. And 2017 was the last time that we accepted any updates to our financial management system, even though that there's been another 25 since then. Just like your regular iOS updates or whatever phones you have, you get an update and say, oh, we're gonna update, we have a bug. Emory has decided not to accept, we paid for all of them, not accept any of the updates since 2017. So every 7 years, we accept the updates and it's a massive thing for us. So just understand, Tesla and then open the door to the fence, we're like behind the times, which is making it hard for us to see the financials and to Dr. Smith who asked the question. But yeah, we are integrating all of that because it's been very clear in all of this changing of leadership that they understand and they're giving me and the team the collective platform we need to optimize the work on your behalf. So I'm advocating for you on your behalf. We have what we need to make it happen, so we will. If that makes any sense.
Thank you so much. No, this is wonderful. And it's past 1. I do have still a lot of people on Zoom. I do want to give them one last opportunity if anybody wants to unmute and have any comments or questions. We do appreciate your participation.
Any questions?
I
In
don't see anything on Zoom, but
yeah, talk to me.
So I appreciate your awareness system-wide of all the challenges coming from different academic institutions. One of the burdens that I have as an administrator is for my junior faculty to become aware of what the resources are. And so it's very fragmented, the websites are outdated.
Yep.
Right? And so if there can be an effort to go out there, I mean, you can go down some serious rabbit holes on the website.
Yeah.
Links don't work. I mean, it is really, really challenging. And so as part of ease of research, it would be helpful if there was maybe some centralized, consistent, updated information available to them on the website, as well as some general orientation. Dr. Jong here just got a K award. She's never, this is her first award, right? I had another investigator, Dr. Nayar, who's on. This was her first time with a grant. And so it was very difficult to get it operationalized. We were sent around by some of your leaders around the Mulberry Bush and not getting answers and things like that. And so the burden then falls on the administrators to try to figure it out because we want to make sure our faculty are successful.
So what I found, the it's not the best.
It was on Zoom, but I just wanna interrupt.
Come on in.
Yes.
Right, so I'm gonna do a quick answer.
Yeah.
Quick answer is this. And this is the way our institution works, and I don't necessarily like this. The power sits with you and the department. If you say it's important, whatever it is, educating our new faculty on the new awards. The only thing that has to happen instead of, if you don't get the answer you like from my team, you can just reach out. That's one. So even if you get the roundabout, you're like, yes, all you have to do is reach out to me, and I provide clarity, and I have the team do whatever we need to do. I'm being honest. I like this is way worse. But to organize it in a more systematic way, you say, hey, Viva would say, hey, Robert, I have a number of new faculty with new awards, and we would like your team to walk us through these processes and the points of engagement. And we will include Lindsay and the rest too. I would like for you all to put together a process for us so that and mechanism to provide assistance should our wonderful faculty need it. And we would like that presentation in the next month. And I would say, okay, we'll put it together. And then I'll tag the team and I'm like, hey, we need to do this. And then whatever date is set, it will be done. And
So we would like the presentation
I-
in the next.
Done, Shwanda, done.
No. So, but the process, like, but then I don't remember the names, who's coming, like, no, I'm serious. So in coordination with Eva, all you have to do is email me and say, this is what we need for our department. And say, hey, we're open if the rest of School of Medicine or any new awards or whatever, like, if you want it just for you, if you want it to be broader, we can do it. This is what we do. This whole institution works on waiting to be requested to help you instead of,
So this is where I think the
I mean,
school,
like,
and we want to hear from you in 1 second. I was going to say, this is where this whole ease of research initiative came in,
Yeah.
right? We got you guys, we got your feedback from the survey, which I know pediatrics want to do now as well. And then we were able to, because there's a lot, you saw how much work is being happening, right? And we're just not aware of it. And I think this communication is extremely important. And I thank Robert coming here is the first step to that, right? Like, and you will see all the leaders from his departments come and present. They've been very engaged. That's the amazing part about Emory. And Robert, you said some things about Emory. And I'll tell you, coming from Michigan, one of the things which I find amazing about Emory is the engagement, where everybody is ready to engage and help you. And we are the ones who have to identify those micro hurdles, which you are facing every day, and remove them. And what the second important principle is smoothen the path for you guys to do research. So I think all of us together, and thank you for your partnership, we can do a lot more. Things which you feel frustrated about, we don't have to feel that frustrated about, because some of them are definitely solvable. Not all of them, but some of them. And I'm sorry, I want to give you a chance to say something over there.
I would just want to get that I think realistic challenges I'm having as a junior faculty is that like I need to spend so much time figuring out who is the right question for this division or this person. Basically, I don't know what I don't know. Like I don't know what to ask. And is that a right question? Basically, figuring out before even getting into the logistics, I just don't know. Is it
Right, and I'd like to add to that, and Robert, you and I met as part of the DFAC many times through the Zoom. This is the first time I'm meeting you in person.
thanks for
But-
coming in.
Well, yeah, oh no, I've been out for a while. I didn't know Shawana was in, but I was like, I don't want to disrupt because there's no back door. And I was, with the patients, I was like, I'm not gonna walk in. But the questions, and I think I really want to amplify what both of them just said, is that I've been here for a while, 20 plus years, and I have a lot of friends, network, and I can still reach out to people and try to figure out when things go wrong. But even knowing all the people I did, I had such a hard time And I was wondering, and I think I'd reached out to Viva and Donna and I did WLA together, so we are friends and reached out to everybody and said, is there something that we can have a blueprint for a new investigator? So it might be, I might be a clinician for many years, and then now I'm moving into research. Is there something that can be given out? And Bridget was like every single, and that's the part that we were just emphasized, every single person is so good and so engaged in their own thing.
Right.
But there's a big picture that you can't see, that you don't know. And every time you take one step, there's another step, and then you start with a whole new group of people. The one thing I will say is the beauty of Emory is that everybody is really nice. It's the true Southern hospitality, and everybody is good and engaged, but everybody is doing a certain part. So if there is something that your office can do that can actually give us a blueprint as new investigators, these are the steps that you're gonna have to go through. And I know John's on the thing.
Consultant, yeah.
Yeah, he's a consultant, and he and I consulted.
John
like-
Oh, John Doe.
John
Yeah,
Doe.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I see he's on the Zoom as well, and that was very helpful.
You
But-
met with him.
I did everything I needed to do.
So
you know,
Vandana, I want to put your question up for the audience who might not have heard the whole context, but you're talking about starting a clinical trial. All right, to the, and you know, we have had in our ease of research as well, we had a lot of micro hurdles or concerns identified about clinical trials. And, you know, you talked a bit about that, Robert. You talked quite a bit about the OCR side and the improvement which is going to happen from that side. It's still work in progress. There's no question
100%,
about it.
100%.
And with Dr. Harvey coming and helping. But that was Vandana's question, was for new investigators, if you are starting a study, you've got a big award, which you need to get this clinical trial going. What are the regulatory steps to meet? That's your question, I think.
Right, and not just that, but also sort of a blueprint. And the one suggestion I had going through my personal process was if there was, and I know we sort of centralized, we moved, you know, but I heard a lot of this as part of the DPAC as well. But if you, any investigator, like if she's starting a project or I'm starting a project, if we could have one person assigned from research who knows the whole process and who can guide us through, I see Viva smiling, so I'm sure maybe it's already in the works. And, you know, that would, any of that would be great, and I see
Is
Bridget's
that a
comment.
person in the department?
So what they're thinking about terms is sort of a guide, a person like, you know, you get, it's very hard because even when I came here, I had to reach out to multiple places, and Ragini is the PhD in my lab, helped me a lot. If Ragini wasn't here, I couldn't get the lab established. But we had to ask multiple people, and we are trying to do something for new investigators at the department level as well. And I think making something like that, Vandana, what you're talking about is somebody, a guide, a person who can say, okay, this is who you can contact, this is what you can do. And I don't know, so we have to think about this problem a little bit more. And John, I know, works on tries to help with that.
Right.
But what you're asking is a little more than that.
Specific,
Yes.
yeah, and it was a very generic
Yes,
agenda.
Right.
So we need, like, what does my project mean? What is her project? That one person who knows all the next steps, because as a new investigator, I didn't know all the different areas. I pretty much, I think, touched every office within the office. And it was one after the other, and I would think, oh, I'm finally done. And then no, I would have another.
So,
thing to
so
do.
I'll start by saying, this is the conversation we need to have. This is what we need to hear. We need to understand where the pain points are, right? And then it's going to be a collaboration, like Robert said, between the department, the schools, and the university. And everybody's ready for that collaboration. But everything can't be done at Robert's level as well.
Right, right.
We have to take some responsibility, and we are. In the department, we are thinking about people who will be like, you know, we just had the discussion yesterday, who will be like the research czars in the sitting between, for helping with the division administrators, and who will have this expertise of what you are saying.
Right.
So, but I think it's work in progress, but part of it has to come. Robert, it's a good question, like, you know,
Yeah.
at the university level, we have something like that too.
Well, okay. The problem with being big is that we have a bunch of smart people that are specialists in their area.
Yes.
Yeah. So 12 offices with smaller offices, and they're all specialized
Yes.
at knowing their answer to your question that
Yes.
you asked them that's specific to what they do. Getting a step out of that. So we have two places, and it's interesting, because one of the reports that I was talking about Taylor, recommended that the institution fund, a navigator, within the departments, which you're describing, where all the departments, especially big ones like this, had a navigator.
Navigator is the word.
That's,
Yeah.
actually, that's a perfect.
They requested it. And we went through a process, even in my office, of supporting navigators. The challenge with that is that we kept growing, and the navigators couldn't navigate because they had to be postal board administration, because they were filling gaps of people who left. Right, so we had this great idea of having navigators, because it's what we need. But then we had holes that the people plug. And all of our navigators turned into postal board administrators. And then some of them, whenever they specialized in, they got promoted to ADs or directors. And we don't have that anymore, because then all the funding got shifted into doing the base stuff. What we need to do, because there's specialized central offices, and then you have in the unit under Lindsay, where she knows to navigate on pre-award and post-award compliance. What we need to do is put together, it won't, in some instances, it won't be one person, because I don't have a person that then knows all the stuff that I know too. So then I look at it from where I sit, and then I look across, and then I put all the pieces together.
Right.
And I don't have a lot of people who do that across the entire portfolio of activities.
And Robert, it will be different across different
It would.
portfolios, right? Because
Sorry,
a
I
clinical
can't-
research person needs a
It's
different
It's
navigator
different, it's different.
than a basic science person, or a,
Yeah.
health services, which could do multi-set, cohort studies or.
So we just need to look at where the gaps are, where we have new, like I could put together a team of individuals to inform me and say, okay, if you have a question on postal work for clinical trials, it's this person, if you got a question on this, and then have your list of people, but.
But I like the idea of the navigator, and I think the fact that it seems like it had come up before and it's still coming up does sound like that would be something that a lot of investigators would find very helpful. And it wouldn't necessarily need to be, if I have one person as a navigator, that person could take on, 5 projects within the department itself. It doesn't need to be, it has to be
One-on-one.
renal, or
Yeah.
it doesn't
Oh,
have to be
absolutely.
one-on-one. But they could, focus on a certain area of expertise, they could be brought in, they could be trained,
Yes.
and then they could help us so that we could actually focus on the science and getting the, instead of, I feel like I've spent,
Countless hours.
it's been a year since I have my project, and it's taken us, and I feel guilty that we are getting paid for it, but, the amount of work that we've done to the output is actually quite disproportionate. And that's why I made it a point to, try and attend this, because I wanted to share with you our experience. I'm so glad Shavana was here too. I had no idea we could actually communicate about this, and I'm so glad we both.
You guys are not ganging up. Okay, all right, now. So,
But what you need needs to be specific,
Yes.
because I have. And I want to write it so that we can give you what you need, because there's so much activity going on.
Yeah.
yes.
And you say, oh yeah, we need new faculty orientation, and the team say, oh yeah, school of medicine already puts that on, but that's not giving you what you need. So we need to be specific on the challenge that we're trying to fix. And I would say, if the department ever hired anybody that was gonna navigate for you all, we will train them. We will introduce them to each one of the officers, have points of contact on behalf of DOE.
That's not the question we are asking, Robert. We're saying, will you fund them? Will you fund the navigators? That's the question.
I will train them. I will train them, and I will convert anybody you give me to know all the answers. We will do it later.
Thank you, everyone.
We'll figure it out, But if you let me know what we
And
should
if
do
there's
for this.
anything that we can share with our experience, or it seems like a lot of us are in the same boat, please let us know, because we want to make it easier for the people coming after us.
Yeah, so what I would recommend, and Viva, you tell me if I'm wrong. Collect that, have a DOM initiative, like this initiative on demystifying research. Have a DOM need that we can address, and I'll put the resources and the team together to make sure we address what you need as a department and not do individual. Well, I mean, I say resources in terms of existing staff, not like new resources, in terms of hiring a navigator.
You can hire.
I don't have that.
And as we go through this series of town halls, which actually, sorry, I must say Sarah did very hard.
Thank
work.
you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, sir.
Sarah, she's the one who put that content together. And so, as we go through this series, some of these things will start getting more, and this communication will help us improve some of these processes and come up with new ideas, which is the goal of this whole ease of research initiative. So thank you everyone for your participation. I think we can go on and on, but it's Friday, so I'm sure you guys have some Friday plans. And Robert, we
Thank you.
really, really appreciated you coming here
Yeah,
and
anytime.
spending this time with us. We know you have a lot to do here. We saw that, so thank you.
I'm here for you all, so.
And thank you, Viva
Yeah.
and Robert, for starting the conversation.
Absolutely.
Because we really needed something like this, and we feel heard and seen that you made this happen. So
I'll
thank you.
just say for any of you, if you ever feel stuck, all you have to do is reach out. And I'll get the right people.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you for stuck around on Zoom.
Thank you all on Zoom.